let's do story time. I'm going to tell this story, and I'm going to try to show how our parents' choices when we're growing up affect our choices when we become adults. I'm going to try to portray that, but we'll see what happens. So there's this girl that I grew up with, and for the sake of anonymity, let's just call her Suzibelle. And we've known each other since sometime in the 80s. And we went to the same primary school, and we've stayed friends through all these years. So she had like the coolest parents. Her mom, well, like back in elementary school, let's say like first, second grade, her mom did everything with her and her brothers. Everything. Mom was stay-at-home mom. She, told stories, and she would because we lived in a city, so when we were walking to school in the morning, her mom would sing songs to make the walk go a little bit faster, and bedtime stories were always made up and fun. Her mom drugged them with her everywhere and did everything with those kids as a stay-at-home mom, and she was a fun mom. She went to, I remember this one time, she came to school, and it was, it might have been around Thanksgiving time, and showed the kids how to make corn husk dolls, and her mom was just a pretty neat person, right? So I want to say we were probably in second grade when her mom left her dad, and it was pretty tragic. Her dad was a raging alcoholic and used to put his hands on her mom all the time. So one day, mom just packed her shit and left. And that was it. She left and never came back. And, it was a long time before she got to see her mom again. There was one point where mom tried to get the kids away from dad and took them out of state to try just to keep them safe. So because she wanted her kids. And there was this whole big custody battle, and the dad ended up getting full custody of the kids, and it was just a tragic situation. And of course, this was back in the 90s, and back then it was fucking unheard of for a man to get full custody of his kids. But anyway, some terrible things happened to Suzibelle shortly after her mom left. Probably within a year of her mom leaving, dad hired some babysitters that were men, and one thing led to another. The police were called, reports were filed, reports were dropped, and because mom didn't have custody of the kids, she only had them on every other weekend. So her mom just slowly got further and further away emotionally from Suzibelle. Dad moved town, so the kids stayed with their mom for a summer while Dad was getting set up in the new town, and there was a very deep core abandonment wound that was left with Susie whenever this all started to go down. Like, she didn't have her mom anymore, and little girls need their moms. And looking back on the situation now, I kind of feel like Susie's mom, I don't know if this is true. I can only, tell you as an observer from the outside, but it looked like, well, I fought for my kids, I lost my kids, so, and I only have my kids every other weekend. I only see them 4 days a month, so emotional detachment became a thing. And this woman ended up, she was in her 20s when the divorce happened, and, she got remarried, and she went to college, and she, did the college thing, and while she was doing her classes in college, she wasn't really able to see the kids a whole lot, and it just became like an emotional detachment from her family, and then as she grew older, the relationship with her kids became more like a business relationship than a maternal bond. It was almost like something happened that severed the maternal bond. Susie never grew up. She stayed stuck in that, 7-8-year-old state where she still had a mom who was a mom. She stayed there. And even like as an adult, she's got her own kids and her own life and her own, family, and her mom still treats their relationship like it's a business deal. The only way that Susie ever gets a real connection with her mom is when money or jobs are involved. There's never just, hey, I miss you today, and I just, thought I'd reach out and make sure everything's okay. It's always a business deal. She's okay with that, but every time they connect, it's, it's weird. It's like emotionally they'll connect, and, and then all of a sudden there's this spark, holy shit, I got my mom back. There's always that deep hope in her that her and her mom are going to share that maternal bond again. Now Susie's a mom of her own kids, and she's trying to break the generational cycle of women who are emotionally detached from their children. The grandmother was taken away suddenly from the mom and her siblings because of a car accident in the 70s. There was a traumatic brain injury, and the mom was never the same, and she became emotionally detached from those kids, and there's just an emotional detachment. It's almost like, well, if I can't be there, then they're not mine. So, long story short, witnessing this relationship between Susie and her mother, I've learned that patterns need to be broken. There is a cycle of maternal abandonment. There's a big cycle of maternal abandonment there, and you can listen to her story, and her great-great-grandmother tried to commit suicide back in the 1910s. Her great-grandmother gave her daughter up for adoption to her biological father and his new wife, and the grandmother was treated like the redheaded stepchild because she was by the stepmom. She, because it was the 40s and 50s, she never actually knew that was her biological father. And she just always thought that the other man, the man that her mother divorced, was her dad. And she had, that abandonment wound, like, dad didn't want me, mom didn't want me. So then she had this traumatic brain injury because of a car accident in the 70s, and she did the same thing to her kids. I said in that video the other day that we traumatize our children by proxy. We bleed all over our kids because nobody ever taught us emotional stability. Long story short, Suzibelle is, just a little 7-year-old girl hoping, hoping that her mommy, not her mother, that her mommy would come back and tell the stories and do the crafts and do all the things that she used to do before the trauma happened, before the divorce, everything before the divorce. And there was always this little 7-year-old girl who was looking desperately for a mom to connect with and never got it. She grew up believing that love was transactional, that you had to do something for people in order to make them like you. And it became a vicious cycle of people pleasing. And it was all because of her mom. Like, she just wanted her mom's attention. That's all she wanted, because she remembered a time when she was all the attention that her mom had to give. So, in raising my little feral beasts and watching this dynamic play out with this person who's been friends with me for 35 years, I don't want to continue to perpetuate that cycle in our own story. And I say our because I'm talking about me, my daughter, my daughters, and my son. When my oldest daughter was 15, it was right after my heart attack, and I had a stent placed in my heart. It hadn't even been a year yet, and there was an incident with a cell phone, and she punched me and kicked me in the chest and all kinds of stuff because I wanted her cell phone, because she was lying and being terrible. I tried raising my kids the way that I was raised, and it didn't work. It didn't work. This generation of kids is not the same as the generation that I grew up. This generation of kids is way different. I mean, mental health is thrown in our faces every day. I mean, they're even, doing like mental health in school. And like gentle parenting, fuck gentle parenting. Gentle parenting is never going to work. I've been training dogs long enough to tell you that positive only reinforcement doesn't fucking work. There have to be consequences, and sometimes those consequences have to be severe. A pop on the butt, I don't know, go to your room. Like, there has to be some kind of a negative reinforcement, and that's just the way that it is. And I really liken dog training to raising kids. But I didn't get it until about 7 years ago that you can't not correct your kids, but raising your kids the same way that your parents raised you isn't going to work either. It's not going to work either, because we have got to learn as a generation of parents how to manage our children's nervous systems, because the nervous system is what sets core memories, core wounds. And when we bleed all over our kids because of our core wounds, because of our core memories, when we bleed all over our children, it just creates more wounding. It creates more problems that need to be fixed in the long run. Emotional detachment because of trauma will create a pack of feral kids that raise themselves. And when children raise themselves, bad things happen to those kids. Telling them to push on because, oh fucking well, life happens is not the right way to do it. Because then you create a generation of adults who have to learn how to reparent themselves, how to nurture themselves, how to become their own mother and their own father. And not everybody can learn how to do that. So I don't know. Susie's mom leaving kind of created like that core abandonment wound for her. There was a sever in the bond between mother and daughter. Susie never grew up. Susie became locked away inside a closet where she was left to, like, never got to see the daylight. Almost. Because she had to become somebody else. She had to become the mother to her brothers. She had to become the wife to her father. She became a people pleaser, a validation seeker, because she had a narcissistic grandmother who helped raise her, and that was just the way things were. And we didn't talk about the trauma. Don't talk about the trauma. Oh no, God forbid, don't talk about the trauma. Fuck that. The days of family secrets is over. This shit needs to come to the table. It needs to come to the table, and it needs to be talked about, because it's very, very real that we are fucking our kids up, and we can't keep this shit hidden in fucking closets forever. Leaving Suzibelle in the dark created Naoma. And Naoma's shadow is a very, very angry 7-year-old who just wants her mommy to hold her. That's all she's ever wanted, was to be close to her mom again, like before the divorce. And I don't want my kids to feel that same fucking pain. Whoever said the 18, 19-year-olds are adults was fucking crazy. 18 years old, I was fucking drinking and driving and running my fucking Dodge into the neighbors' fucking culverts and taking out their forsythia bushes because I just wanted to have a good time. And instead of... And I was also getting pregnant and starting a family. There was no gentle hand to guide me, to offer me grace. There was never a gentle hand to give me grace. Ever. I got pregnant right after high school and moved out. I didn't even tell my mom because my stepdad was so averse to children being in the house. My mom straight up told me that if I ever came home pregnant that I would have to leave. And that was a story that I held it was a truth that I held my whole high school year. If I ever come home pregnant, I'm not going to be able to stay. I'm going to have to go. So I got pregnant at 16 or at 17 years old, and I moved out. Why the fuck are you moving out? Well, because I'm pregnant. I can't stay here. You have already told me that if I get pregnant, I'm going to have to leave. So I did. And she blatantly looked at me right in the face and was like, you're right. You're right. You get pregnant, you move out. So I left. 17 years old. I just graduated high school. Got a full-time job. I lived with my boyfriend's family. And to this day, his sister is like my sister. And then I ended up in shitty fucking relationships afterward. I had 2 kids with that guy. But in the interim between children, I was still fucking buck wild. Like, I just wanted to fucking party and fuck and party and fuck. And it didn't matter who I was fucking. I was fucking my fucking coworkers. It didn't matter. That's all I wanted to do. I was still a kid. And honestly, I think I was seeking some kind, I was seeking love. And because of the SA that I went through early on in life, I think I was seeking like an older man to give me love, because that's what I was looking to try to heal. So then I get married. My husband leaves me because he's a sad, broken little man. And then I'm left to raise 4 kids by myself. And when I was 18 years old, pregnant with my oldest son, because the 17-year-old me pregnancy didn't hold. I miscarried that in the early parts of the 2nd trimester. So when I was pregnant with my oldest son, my mom looked at me dead up in my face and said, you are going to have to do this all by yourself, because your partner is still in high school and he's still a kid. And because I was the oldest daughter, I was my father's wife and my brother's mother growing up. I already had the maturity to go out and just get shit done. And then my mom told me that I was going to have to do it by myself. I did do it by myself, and I didn't know any different. I didn't know that I was living in my masculine energy, and it created problems within all of those relationships. Now, fast forward, here we are, 43 years old, and I wish I just had a mommy. Instead, I got a business partner. And don't get me wrong, I love my mom. I love my mom because deep down inside, Susie is down there going, oh, mommy's giving me attention, and that's the greatest feeling in the world. But anyway, her choices as a mother led to my choices as a mother, and those choices didn't work, and I chose to raise my kids with more nurturing and more understanding and more emotional maturity, and I may not have done it all perfectly right, but god damn it, my kids are going to have a soft spot to land when they fuck up, because I didn't get that. I got a cold hammer of reality instead of a soft pillow to land on. Regroup, get your shit together, go try again. I didn't get that. So, yes, our parents' choices affect our decisions later in life, and those decisions affect our kids. They affect the people around us. Every decision that we make from the time that we wake up in the morning has a ripple effect to everybody around us. So, don't get it twisted. And like I said, I love my mom. I do. I love my mom genuinely, wholeheartedly. She's my fucking mom. But you know, deep down inside, Suzibelle screaming for remember the mom that used to go to the school. She used to go to as a parent, she just used to come to the school and like do stuff with us kids, and like she was the mommy until she was traumatized and she couldn't anymore. So it is what it is. And today's Thursday, April 23rd, 2026. I think today's a one day. Initiations, unravelings, and new beginnings. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much. Well, that's all I have for you right now. So we'll just call this Car Talk Story Time. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.